Okay guys, first of all, Spadia is not just a YouTube channel. We have also digital products, physical products, which are going to help you about everything we talk about in these videos. You can find two links in the descriptions below. And now let's get back to the video you came here to actually watch.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be discussing a new topic about the tools that you can use to optimize your mindset. Now, I will say one thing that, as we've talked about in a couple of previous videos, these tools are meant to be used more of as a system, and it's in such as a case that you would like to use them and you would be able to use them continually and continuously, and the longer you are able to use them, the more benefit you actually get. So it's not something that you're gonna see billion% of improvement today or tomorrow, although you will see a huge improvement, I can actually assure you that. But these are more of the systems that are going to help you get further ahead. And on the other hand, when you will actually go through these tools that we'll be talking about, you will most likely clearly see that doing the exact opposite of them helps you to go basically further down in terms of, in my opinion, our own intelligence, for example, knowledge about some deep subjects and topics, and also the mindset that you're able to then use to, for example, improve your work, do more for others, and especially to also improve your own life. Now we can also go through the first topic, which is a very important one that isn't talked about that much, in my opinion, especially today in Western culture, but this basically a specific type of education which I would like to outline is basically learning again, as we've probably forgotten about more about philosophy and psychology at the same time. Now, the reason why I think that is very, very important, I would say two main reasons is one, this is something that there are ideas in these strains of, let's say, books, but also basically in this movements that we've seen as well that have been thought about for thousands or tens of thousands of years. I mean, many of the materials that we use today for stories, for example, in movies, even music as well, and in many parts of our culture, even in the civil rights that most of the countries in the world use, are basically based on the ancient ideas that first came from Greeks, for example, that also came from the Christian cultures as well, which have more or less been 180'd in the last couple of decades. And also there's ideas basically make you think a lot more about some particular deep topics, and especially they allow you to see a different perspective on your own life that you might not have been able to see before, especially that can be more apparent in the Western countries, in my opinion, at the moment. But all of the ideas which you could have, I will even cite, for example, if you actually are able to read through a Bible, for example, and actually understand all the references which are in there, which we probably don't understand many of them yet, because this book has probably been, let's say, it's a kind of a series of books which has been constructed over probably hundreds of years, and it also comes in more or less 2 volumes as well. But from that there have been many ideas that have come about even in the last 2,000 years, and there are many deep ideas which allow you to see the world in a completely different perspective, which also allows you to completely change your minds and maybe think about some things which we are doing to maybe change those and to maybe improve the world in a different way. For example, I do believe that if we will have known more about all of different strains of thoughts from those ancient books, because, for example, especially in the West, and that has been my experience as well, we aren't being taught anymore the thoughts that were contained in those books. They would truly, in my opinion, help with things such as addictions, instant pleasure activities as well, because we would be able to much more easily see that there is a different way to actually go about doing work, for example, and helping others as well. So this is absolutely huge, and it can help your mindset if you are able to especially dive into those two topics of philosophy and psychology, but the ones based on the more older thoughts, for example. So for example, for psychology, you have people like Carl Jung as well, which you can basically reference back, but don't go based on the teachings that you have today, but I would especially advise you to basically follow the books that were actually written from those people to basically see what they were talking about and thinking about, and it would be absolutely huge for you to basically see a completely different perspective that isn't talked about today. I think it's changing, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, probably since 2020 on that front. Especially benefits you a lot in your life in basically every area, because it improves your mindset by seeing different thoughts that you might have not heard before, and it's absolutely huge for you. The second topic is the main topic also that kind of follows up on the first topic, is having basically a strict system in your life throughout work week and throughout the weekend as well. This allows you to basically have huge deviations in what you do, especially in your habits and anything else as well. I think most of us don't do this, so we would have basically, at least for the productive population, that we can say we would have pretty much a set system for the work week. Maybe sometimes you would go out or not during it as well, but then weekend is usually completely different in terms of, for example, wake up times, when you manage to eat because of that, in terms of activities you actually do. It's a huge change for your system. Now, our systems, I don't believe that they were set up and meant to be used in this mode of having 5 days of work and 2 days of rest. So that's also why it's kind of hard for the system then to get back to work, for example, for Mondays, which many people struggle with and many people hate that day. But if you are able to have more of a system, especially for the wake up times, at the time you actually go to view sunlight, for example, the time you, for example, educate yourself as well when you eat, when all of those things are pretty much in check, at least in as much of similar or same times as you can throughout the work week and the weekend, it allows you to basically keep going on with the same system throughout every day as well. If you are able to get some mental work throughout the weekend, that will be huge for you as well, because it allows you to basically keep going to make sure your own brain and your mindset still basically strong, and on Monday when the actual work comes around, you aren't basically restarting your entire system to work again, because it's much harder to do that after 2 days of not doing pretty much anything on cognitive front, especially that isn't hard. So this is something that you would like to use, and I think this could be also for you quite a bit helpful, because if you're able to do that, for example, if you educate yourself as well throughout the weekends instead of working, it again allows you to get more skills, it allows you to get some insights which you wouldn't have been able to get before, and it's completely helpful to have then more of an edge into the coming week as well, in terms of being able to help people with having more insights on some news, for example, with having some deeper knowledge about some tools or some topics which you wouldn't have known otherwise about if you haven't taken the time during the weekend, for example, to actually learn about them. You may even start something. For example, if you have a digital company and you haven't done a newsletter, you can set up something throughout the weekend when you will be sending them out, so you will be preparing them as you have more time. So these are basically just some small things which you can use, but they basically add up over time the longer you do them, and they help you to basically have a system established where you know what you're doing, what you're about to do, and your brain especially likes to predict things, so this is huge for you and huge for your mindset as well. The last topic, which probably is also quite huge, and I think it's after those two, I believe is the largest topic, but it's the harder to get into because it takes time, especially for people who are younger and especially for males, is being able to help others in, let's say, a way that you would actually find meaningful. And that would be, for example, working for clients, helping people with what you're able to do. And this whole system basically allows you to find meaning in your life, and allows you to do more and want to do more, and to also improve your dopamine response in order to want to actually be productive in life. Because one of the largest issues that have seemed to pop up over the last few years seem to be basically unemployment among young men, and there seems to be kind of increasing number, especially in the Western countries. I haven't seen data for the other countries yet, but it seems to be a trend that is in there. But this is something that being able to help others, especially as you are young, is very important, and it's very tough to get into, because I do believe that many of the companies today have so many options of people from all over the world that it's hard to pick. If you have, for example, 100 different brands of shampoos in the store, you are confused and you will never be satisfied with the choice, because what is basically the chance that you'll pick the best shampoo out of the 100 that you have? It's basically virtually zero. If you had, for example, 3 shampoos, you would be basically certain that you will pick the one you like, and that actually might be the best, because you're able to basically read through the labels of the shampoos and pick the best. If you have just one option, you are not really satisfied because you couldn't really choose. So basically, also based on studies that we've seen, is that when people have choices of 3, 4, that seems to be the best. But since many of the companies today have tens of applicants, even up to hundreds, if you're talking about the remote work, it's very hard to actually for them to pick the, let's say, the candidate they would like, and then it's hard for people to actually get into work they would be able to get, and so it's harder for them to even start to learn. So this is why it's especially important for people to start to educate themselves, to basically pick a topic they would be willing to work in, and that especially that they see some future in. I will look at the industries which you would estimate, and basically if other people have more insights, then go based on the insights that other people might have that are in industries themselves, or in the different industries as well, to have a second opinion, to know whether that industry is actually going to probably have more of a chance to survive than others, and to basically pick that to, let's say, not, I don't like the word career to start with, but to basically start to educate yourself in that, to know that when you will be learning about the particular subjects in that field of work, that you will be able to basically use your time to learn about everything you can. Basically, I would actually encourage you to use all the time you have available for that. If you're really starting from zero, there is many great resources which you can use and actually do help. So this isn't something that you wouldn't be able to use. So basically using the newest platforms, for example, in my own case, about 2 years ago, I've extensively used YouTube and Facebook groups at that time to get into one particular industry as well, which helped quite a lot. But basically the whole process can take a year before you even get a job, and it can even take more depending on the industry, or less. It quite a bit depends also on what connections you might have. Many people won't have connections any in particular industry, so this is where you will particularly need to basically study and learn a lot more and see how it's basically done through this educational content which is today available, and putting all your time available for that is absolutely huge for you. And this then allows you to transition to basically get some first work, being able to work for people and seeing how it actually works. And this allows you to then even get a couple of more years into the work, and then being able to basically gain more knowledge and transition more into, for example, the more senior roles in your position on that end. But this is basically the best way you can use to also improve your mindset, to be able to help more people, for example, clients. But if you have any other job, you're basically able to help people in large scale. For that basically gives your life a huge meaning, and allows you to also feel better about yourself, which is the first thing, but basically wanting to do positive for the world. So this is the 3 main things which I want you to encourage. These are more of a systems, which, as I mentioned at the start of the video as well. Thanks to this, because, for example, as the tool which we've talked about having the same system throughout the work week, and well, thanks to those, you will be most likely, and this has been always the case that I've seen when people actually implemented those things which we've talked about, it will be much more likely to take risks, for example, because you already have a stable rock in your life, for example, having some systems in place. Also, for example, these educations we've talked about philosophy and psychology, is also a system or kind of rock which you will have in your life, for example, such as reading books at a particular time if you want to be strict on the timings as well. Or then, as we've talked about, basically helping others as well, which would translate into having work which is at consistent times. So this would basically be some kind of rock which you can use then to branch out your possibilities, but what you can actually do in your life as well. And this helps you to basically going quite strong thanks to those three tools. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you guys, and if you have any questions, you can also drop down into the comments, as basically all of the tools that we've talked about on this channel have been tested for a couple of months, if not years already. And if they aren't, that will always be disclosed to you guys. So just let me know if you have any questions about implementing any of those, and I'll be more than glad to answer. So thank you. Enjoy.